Hello and welcome. This is another very simple watercolour, another beach scene. We're doing a series of beach scenes. We'll do some rural country scenes fairly soon. A bit of water on there, don't know how that got there, but anyway. I do have some tissue, which is really handy to have. If you want to just mop up, just dry off a bit. But we're not doing this part. We'll just start with the sky, and I want just some clear water, just in areas of this sky. I don't really want to go over the horizon at all, or these background hills. Don't want to go over those. Okay, so that's the water there. I just want a fairly light blue on this particular sky, and maybe a little bit of I don't know, an ultramarine blue as well in there, perhaps. Let's see how we go. Just want to keep it fairly light, and maybe just a tiny bit of this blue, but not much. I don't want too much of the ultramarine blue in there, just a tad. That'll do for the sky. We need to let that sky dry. So it's quite a light sky, and of course, being watercolour, it will dry lighter than what I've actually put the watercolour on, if you know what I mean. Okay, I'm just going to do some of the ocean now. I'm using a flat brush like this. And I'm just going to use the edge of the brush. Okay, so as you can see, I've left some gaps there to give the illusion of some surf or some waves. And we'll just continue along here. Now I'm putting in some turquoise mixed with a little bit of that cobalt blue. The cobalt blue is mixed with a little bit of dark green, Australian dark leaf green. But I'm putting a bit of turquoise in through here. just the illusion of some of that surf or some of the ocean just drifting there into the shore or over the sand a bit. We'll leave that for now. We're going to do some of these hills here in the background, so I will be going over some of this yellow ochre in areas with some green. With a very light yellow, I'm just going to do some areas through here. This isn't the only colour I'll be putting through here, but it's a start. I don't want a very bright saturated yellow through here. And we've got some apricot, which looks really nice in places. Just adds a little bit more interest. Beaches are really the one complete colour. Is gradients and shadow in different areas. Get a bit of a tissue here and just wipe some of this here. That's good. Right, we'll just put a bit more through. Okay, we'll leave that dry for now. We're just going to put some dark leaf green in this area up here, just a bit through, just to give it some variation, and a little bit of vegetation on this hillside. And I'm just putting a couple of trees up in here. just very loose. Yep, that's pretty good. I'll put a couple of strokes in through there to finish off the trees a little bit later. Now I'm just going over onto the other side. And I want a little bit of foliage on the other side as well, that cliff here. I don't want to overdo it, just put a bit more in here. That's okay. Right, just leave it like that for now and come back when that dries. Okay, I've got some rocks on the base of this piece of land or hill on the left-hand side. And I'm going to see how I go. Rocks can be at times a little difficult. I'm using Payne's Grey for this, for these rocks. That's not too bad. I'll just put a little bit more colour or gradient in some parts of those rocks. Okay, we'll just stop that for now, let that dry. All right, so I'm putting a very deep, I'm not covering the whole rock, but in some areas I'm putting a very dark brown paint through in some areas here. Go. All right, it's okay. We'll let that dry. I'm going to just fix up these trees a bit. That'll do. All right, we just want a little bit more darker green, just in some areas on this other hill. I've just brought the hill out just a bit. I just thought it was a bit too steep. Sorry about that camera shake there. Okay, that's good. We'll leave it like that for now. And we were going to put some grasses here in the foreground. We'll do that in a sec. This isn't the only green I'll be using. I just want to get a bit of a foundation down. It's a tiny bit of turquoise in through there just to give the illusion of a couple of pools of water. All right, well, just to add to these grasses here. All right, I'm going to get a very fine brush now, although the brush that I was using had a very fine tip, but this is even a finer brush. I just want to get a little bit of grass in through here, different areas. I'll go back to the other brush again. Swapping brushes here all the time. Back to this one. As you can see, I'm trying to keep this loose and free as much as I can. I don't want it to look stiff. I don't want it to look contrived. Even though sometimes that can happen, and then you start again. Because we all learn by our mistakes. Well, we'll just stop it there for now. try to avoid really hard edges. It's okay to have some hard edges on the grass, obviously, but try to soften as many edges as you can that look like they need softening to blend it into the foreground. Yep. Just to give the illusion of some greenery or some vegetation coming down these hills. And continuing along the sand there a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. What we'll do now is just put a tiny bit of grit or sand on the beach. As you can see, I've just covered that up. Most of the painting up, and I've just exposed the area where I want some of this grit. So I'll put a mixture of colours in. I'm just going to flick it in with this fan brush here that you can see. Need quite a bit more water on that brush. That'll do it. I don't want to. Be careful you don't overdo it. It's okay. Fine. Okay, so I'm just going to maybe put a little bird in the sky, something in the sky. There we go. That will do. I think I'll just sign it. Let's get a bit more water on the brush. And you know what, I think we might even just soften just an area up here, just a little bit. And just before we finish, tape. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so there it is. A few rocks there near those hills, a couple of birds, some pools of water. Might even be able to adjust that pool of water, because you know what, it still bothers me. It still bothers me. So I'm just going to adjust that again. Let's have a look. Of course, that will dry a lot lighter. We'll take the masking tape off now. So the old story, pull away from the paper as you're taking the tape off, because you don't want the tape to rip into the paper. Just take your time, pull the tape away from the paper. Well, let's have a look now that it's without the masking tape. There we go. Just a simple ocean scene. You can see I've left some gaps there. I usually like to use a brush like this, or a slightly thicker brush like this to get a good sweep for the ocean. But because I wanted to leave some gaps there, quite a few gaps, I used a chisel brush, and it gave me enough room to leave quite a few gaps without risking losing those white areas. So you can see I've left some white areas, some negative space on the paper as well. That gives a good illusion of sand there as well. The trees there, you can see I've left some white negative space under the trees going down the hill, and some white negative space in the foreground there as well. I suppose we could put a little bit of yellow ochre in the foreground. We might even do that before I turn the camera off, because it'll only take a second. So a little bit of yellow ochre. I'll just get a brush here to be able to do that. And we can just blend some of that through, some of the grasses there. Can get a store card and scrape some grasses through. That's if the paint hasn't dried too much. I can give it a go, but the paint might have dried too much by now. Doesn't really matter. No, the paint's dried too much, but you can get that effect. It doesn't need it here, but you can get that effect if you want to. We've done that in some past watercolour paintings, where you can just scrape through with a palette knife or a credit card. And you might be able to get some of those effects of scraping through to emulate grass. Let's have a look. I've got a palette knife here. It might work on this one. No, that paint is just too dry. But yep, it doesn't need it. If you look back on one of my past paintings, you can see me doing that. And it does give a really good illusion of more grass going through. You don't need to do that all the time, and you've got to be careful you don't overdo it, because if you overdo it, it's hard to go back again, isn't it? Okay. All right, there we go. I'm glad I actually went and did that and put some yellow ochre in there as well. And you can see just a little bit through here on the sand. Just gave a bit more texture to the sand there. And I'm quite happy with that. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for those who have subscribed and supporting this channel. I hope you do also subscribe and like and click that bell icon. This channel is virtually just starting, and I'd like to keep growing it. So please support me. There's other people obviously doing watercolor art on YouTube. Everyone, as I said before, has their own unique style and perspective. I hope you like mine, and I hope you continue to watch as you and I learn together. Oops, bye for now.